introductions, and then we will go to the meat of the stuff. Am I too early? No? It's 3 minutes. Yeah, let's start. Yeah, okay. So, yeah, but then, I've got lots of slides. The colleague there was very appreciative of the fact that I already uploaded the PDFs. You could see that there were more than 30 slides there. Now, disclaimer, I uploaded the new version and it's 42 slides. Nice number, as you know. And the answer to everything, live, universe, etc. Yeah, so 42 slides in less than 40 minutes, and I would love to hear also from you, so maybe I should go. Okay, so it's about gamifying the Blackboard Learn course. What we're going to talk about is quickly go through introductions. What is game? What is gamification? I'm planning to finish with it in 10 minutes. And then the meat of the presentation is about my three amigos, meaning 3 simple steps to actually start in gamifying the course. And what is next is where maybe we would have a discussion, and I would love to hear from you. My name is Aras Yusubov. I need to introduce myself. I'm an assistant professor at School of IT and Engineering in Ege University, Baku, Azerbaijan. Just quick show of hands. Anyone heard about Azerbaijan?
Yes.
Yeah, 3 people. Good. Yeah. Okay. So probably I need to mention a few more stuff about Azerbaijan. And by the way, one of the colleagues, we were in the breakout room, and she said that, oh, it's the first time I realized that Antalya Together is an international event because the majority of people from US, I guess. So Azerbaijan is this white spot there. So it's the biggest country in the Caucasus, and then Baku is the capital city and biggest city at the Caspian Sea, which is in fact a landlocked lake, which is the largest lake in the world. So it's so big that we call it sea. And then Antalya, obviously, they see us as part of the Middle East kind of region, but we see ourselves as sources in Europe. We even hosted Eurovision Song Contest back in 2012. But anyway, and then we appeared on the map after the First World War, when there were parade of the national states after several empires crumbled. So yeah, it was 1918 when Republic was declared. Just quick show of hands, Americans, whoever from US, anybody from US, like who is from US, United States? So majority of you are from the, so where Azerbaijan is, there is an interesting fun fact for you guys. So you know this person here, I guess, President Woodrow Wilson. So this fun fact is that on his several speeches, public speeches back in 1919, he would mention, do you know, he would address the public, say, do you know where Azerbaijan is? And he would mention his meeting with the delegation from Azerbaijan. But I would quote his interesting word that I did find this out immediately, that I was talking to men who talk the same language that I did in respect of ideas, in respect of conception of liberty, in respect of conception of right and justice. For me, it's like our building, founding fathers were quite advanced on that front. But after 100 years, fast forward, we still try to explain where Azerbaijan is. But yeah, now you know where Azerbaijan is, I hope. Yeah. Okay, so cautionary statement, you probably saw this in lots of presentations, especially from Antalya. Mine is a bit different. So this session does not present a scientific result or something. It's rather my personal experience. And another thing, I hope that it would be somehow helpful to the audience. And I'm also equally interested in hearing about your experience. So quick show of hands, how many people are teachers, actually professors, teachers? We are a minority here. I mean, yeah, anyway. Yeah, but then, yeah. Okay, what is game? I have kind of lots of quotes here. So this quote is coming from a famous Tchaikovsky's opera, What is Our Life, a Game? Like, it's a powerful quote, I think. But then, in fact, the playful behavior, it's not learned. It seems that it's kind of wired. Animals are playing, but humans are very different in terms of playful behavior and games. It seems that, being playful, games are intrinsically in us. And some people even say that before there was, Homo sapiens, there was Homo ludus, meaning playful, human was there even before thinking human. I will just start with this picture. Anybody recognize this image by Peter Bruegel from Dutch Renaissance, 16th century? When I was a kid, I would love to actually watch those, and then this is just fragment of the big picture. So it's called Children's Games, and in fact there are more than 200 people depicted here, but they play very, very different games. I want just to kind of mention one special case for me. So if you see this corner here, there is a game played there, which is very close to me. They play with 5 stones. Anybody recognize this game? With 5 stones. Sometimes this is called Jaxies. Have you heard about that? Yeah. Okay. So in fact, this game, you can see it in many, many different places and in many, many different times. So 4th century before the Christ in Greece, they would play the same game, and in 21st century Korea, they play the same game. So games are really powerful. They're not just this is serious business. Yeah. Okay. So this serious phenomenon, I would say. Yeah. And in fact, the interesting fact about this game is that it's played with 5 stones. It's called La Payanca in Argentina. In Azerbaijan, we played, and in Turkey they played as Beştaş. Jack stones, or Astrogalos in Greek, Talos, Gongi in Korea, and they played even in China and in Mongolia, so whole world. Yeah. So sometimes games are bigger than we think about them. Yeah. But then, so games have multiple dimensions: social and cultural, physical and mental, and developmental and educational, which the last part is very interesting to us. And there is a whole scientific field called ludology. So the word was coined back in 1982 by the psychologist Mihail Csikszentmihalyi. He's very famous. Probably you've heard about him if you are into biology. And then the recent news is that, have you heard about ACM, Association for Computing Machinery? Anybody from IT or computer science background, they will hear about it. So Turing Award, which is Nobel Prize of Computing, is awarded by ACM. So it's a series that they actually started a series of journals which is about games. So, and then obviously we all know that video games industry is as big as 183 billion according to the latest reports, and it's growing. So I mean, importance of the games is there. So then, what is game? So there are many definitions. I kind of picked up one definition, which is coined by Sid Meier. Anybody played Civilization games? Yeah. So Sid Meier is the guy behind. So a game is a series of interesting and meaningful choices made by the player in pursuit of a clear and compelling goal. There are many definitions, but a short definition would be a game is a play artifact. So it's an object, made for play, and then there is a definition of the play. So when we think about the play, there is no apparent purpose, probably just for play, voluntary, improvisational, fun, different from serious behaviors, and what's important, it begins relatively in safe situations. So yes, when we say fun, it doesn't mean only positive experiences. You may watch the horror movie, or you may play, games which would cause some negative emotions, but what is important, you feel like you are safe. Why we talk about this, we will see later. And then there is another definition of play, which I mentioned. It's by Gordon Burkhardt, psychologist and professor from University of Tennessee, very, University of Tennessee. But then, there are lots of models, design models for games. In fact, we in School of IT and Engineering, we have elective course which is about fundamentals of game development. So we try to actually look at the models. Obviously, we don't need this kind of existential questions. Why games exist? This is an important question. I mean, psychologists are, researching it. We rather are interested, we need functional questions and answers like what makes a good game, and why do people play games? So the second question is probably important. And there are several models which are trying to actually look at what should be in any game. So one model is called MDA, Mechanics, Dynamics, Aesthetics, which is coined by Marc LeBlanc. So basically, mechanics is the part which is defining like the basic components of any game. Like what are the rules there? What are the possible moves there? While the aesthetics is another end, and this diagram is nice. So basically, aesthetics is what player sees first, but designer sees the mechanics, so we decide on the mechanics. So aesthetics is what is facing, what are the colors, what are the personages, what are the emotional responses we are trying to invoke, and then dynamics is how they interplay. So how mechanical parts, how rules are playing while the player interacts with the game. So that's the basic. But there is another model which is adding one important component from my two important components which are different a bit. Technology, which is clearly understandable. So the technological parts which makes the game possible. So all the mechanics is running on this. And there is very nice additional part which is story. So story is basically, there should be some sequence of actions which would unfold the game. So that's also an important part of the game. Why we talk about this? Because if we try to define gamification, which will move soon in short time, so it's basically using some of this, let's say, model parts in your course. So if you are aware of these models, probably it will help us. And there is an important notion of what makes a good game, which is called flow. Anybody heard about flow? Because it's a very important part generally in psychology and behavioral psychology and generally in pedagogy they use it. So it's also coined by Mihai Csikszentmihalyi. And basically there's a nice diagram about that. Flow is when the player is absorbed with the task at hand, unaware or unbothered by things outside of the immediate experience. So when your kid is drawing something and very much absorbed in that. So it's not only about games, it's about any activity, and this is from the holy grail we try to achieve with our students. But then this diagram is very nice. So it actually connects this notion to two things: skills and challenge. So basically, a quick explanation of the line is that, so basically, players would actually improve their skills, but the challenge should be a par, should be equally growing. Otherwise, if it is too easy, they will be bored. If it is too hard, they will get frustrated. So if you get this nice line between these two kind of dimensions, people will continue playing the game. Okay. So this is end. Like I think I'm very good in time that I want to spend most of the time in the next sessions. I couldn't resist to share one nice cartoon with you. So why do we play games? There was a cartoon a couple of years ago. Maybe some of you noticed it. So that's why. So there is a constant encouragement in games. That's why probably. But then we will see that in fact formally, any game it gives very active feedback. There is a feedback and it is kind of encouraging feedback all the time. So probably play games. Now, what is gamification? This will be a very shorter part after this theoretical intro. This is another quote. I'm very, very much oriented in quote. So basically this quote is from ancient Greece. In fact, it is associated with Plutarchus. And I love this part. The mind is not a vessel that needs filling, but wood that needs igniting. So ignore the wood part, but rather it's about we try to ignite the minds, so not like, put the vessel. And this, lots of research actually shows that gamified education approaches have a big potential on motivating students, inspiring students. So igniting, inspiring is probably this important central part of it. But there is actually a definition of gamification. There are many, but then I like this one, Sebastian Detterding. By the way, he is the editor-in-chief of the ACM Games Journal. It's a very famous name in gamification and game design. So in short, it's the use of game design elements in non-game context. So we already talked about game models and the mechanics, aesthetics, dynamics, story. So you use what is interesting, so the use of game design elements in non-game context to motivate desired behaviors. So the good example is like you probably are all playing the game, this Anthology Together game, most of you. Yeah, like go and score something, do some actions, even without wanting it. I would admit, like I go and then, check out the links, etc., just to get the point. Yeah. And then what are the elements? So in fact, Detterding is kind of mentioning several elements which are more helpful because they are good examples we can see around. Interface design patterns, meaning badges, leaderboards. I think leaderboard is a very powerful one. Levels. So there are also kind of some mechanical, some elements which are related to mechanics, meaning what are the rules, what are the time constraints, is there any turn-based kind of actions there, are there any limited resources, and then there are also kind of patterns which are related to general principles, like is it an endurance game, are there clear goals, etc. But gamification is not a silver bullet. The research shows that, and by the way, I promise to upload the version of the PDF with the notes, which are including lots of references to some of the sources you may want to actually check. So the research shows that these approaches, gamification approaches, are working better with introductory courses. And there are many explanations for that because when the students are freshmen, they need more encouragement possibly. But once they pass a certain level, they're already self-motivated kind of young professionals. There is one explanation of that. And I would just mention two people. One is Sebastian Detterding. If you are into that, into researching gamification, please search for him. And another name is kind of very famous name in our community. I think Shimon Machajewski. He's been working with Anthology, and he did PhD in gamified intro courses. One interesting research I want to mention, and in fact, for me personally, this research actually inspired me to actually try some of the stuff a couple of years ago. So this was done by the University of Lisbon colleagues. The article called "How Do Students Behave in a Gamified Course?" A 10-year study. So they basically had a gamified course. Over the 10 years, they looked at the student data, they looked at their reaction to the game elements, etc. And they trying to find out how does it. So the elements they used was leaderboard, achievements, experience points, levels. They used also some others, but not consistently. But what is interesting, they actually defined 4 groups of students. So these are achievers, that with very self-explanatory names. So from the very beginning of the course, these people would interact with the course actively. The late awakeners, which are, ironically, they're labeled as regular. I mean, it seems that regular students, they would have some, lazy time in the beginning, and then they would suddenly awake, hopefully not after the midterm, but somehow a little earlier, and then disheartened, who started very well, but then their performance went down, and underachievers. But I think the most important result was that according to their data, they could actually identify which group the student belonged after the first months of input. So that's very interesting. And basically, they could almost, exactly predict their performance thanks to this gamification. And that's something maybe ontologists should think about. Yeah, anyway. So I finished finish the kind of general, somehow a little bit theoretical intro, and then let's move to more practical, what I did basically. Yeah. But before that, I have another quote. Okay, so then it's very famous word from Lao Tzu. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, and the meaning for me is generally I don't claim that what I'm talking about is kind of a, this is a solution. In fact, gamifying your course or turning your course to more engaging, experience is a long journey, but then you need to start somewhere. And my start point was to do almost mechanical 3 steps with my existing course. I hope that it would help you too. So basically, I could label these 3 kind of changes as journey, milestones, reward, competition, and second chance. So, and then I'm gonna look at the examples, how I implemented this. But generally, if you think about journey, I'm not sure if this is a nice quote. The journey of the hero is about the eternal cycle of change within us. Anybody heard about journey of hero or monomyth? Yeah, there is a famous kind of theory about that any myth or any important legend in the history of humanity, it actually follows the same storyline. Okay, and it very much plays with the notion of story in our game dynamic, if you remember. Yeah. So I mean, the story goes like there is a hero and there is a challenge. So hero doesn't want to accept the challenge, but he has to, and then he starts a journey. He passes to the world of magic, but he returns back from the world of magic with something new, more empowered, like in short. So how we create the journey with milestones, probably. The one kind of simple change I make, and this is very natural, is to actually create milestones. So very natural it would be weekly learning outcomes or weekly content folders if we go down to very kind of technical detail or like very basic practical detail of that. Mind that, I mean, we are using original, Blackboard original, but I hope, in fact, I believe most of the kind of functionality I'm going to talk about are very much kind of, they basic. There were some shortages last year, but then they added all the functionality which was missing. So content folders, that's one. And in fact, it is in line with the Blackboard example course rubric about content is made available or chunked in a manageable segment. But what is important, it's not just mechanical step. If you notice, I mentioned learning outcomes. I mean, it is very intuitive, but then I had actually to go back to my syllabus, for example, the course, and in many cases I would admit, most of the colleagues, they would focus on the topic. So we're going to talk about this topic this week, and then a couple of topics the next week, etc. But rather turning them to the learning outcomes is helpful, and this outcome should be very much verifiable. So you can say, understanding of Newton's second law. How you're going to check understanding? Maybe you will turn it, students should be able to describe, explain this example, so that kind of thing. And then you would limit somehow this number of learning outcomes. So how every week's folder looks in my case, so you can see that there are a couple of items, I can see it here. So the first one here are learning outcomes, but there is a small addition here. You can see that the outcomes are written there, but then they are linked to something. So I can't believe I would say it, but thanks to COVID-19, suddenly in all campuses we had the video recordings of all the lectures throughout the year. So basically, every outcome would be linked to short video explaining that. I mean, so basically, list of learning outcomes, they should be specific, verifiable. They would be, and the short means like less than 15 minutes, ideally explanatory videos. Now, and in addition, you would have reading materials, one or many, and then one additional thing which is more about like what is the game mechanics or what is the element. So what's the trick there? So we would have long-graded self-check tests after the class sessions, which would open on Thursdays usually, depending on the course. There's limited number of attempts. So what is that? So the first folder is open from the beginning of the semester. You are familiar with the outcomes. You watch the videos. After that, we have the class discussions about that. You did your readings. Then towards the end, after the sessions, you have your self-check quiz. But you should score at least 50%, and it can change because you will change the mechanics. Do you want to make it tough? Do you want to make it easy? So in my case, you need to hit 50% to actually unlock the next folder, which is adaptive release, as you all know. Okay? But what's important, they should be limited attempts, because first year we did it, we had unlimited attempts, and we quickly realized that students would just play the guess game, like computers would do, like machine learning out there, quickly guess everything they share with each other, so that doesn't work. In addition, we would have, and in fact it is in line with another ECR rubric, which is assessment activities occur frequently throughout the duration of the course. Adaptive release, yeah. There are, and then you can see actually the subject quiz here. Yeah? Okay, so if the student scores more than 50% in the subject quiz of the previous week, so they actually see the next week material. Okay. Now there are other activities too. So basically students progress through the course by earning achievement badges. So this is another tool which was there in original. Anybody use the achievement badges? Quick rate, yes, one person. Yeah, okay, not much. The two people. Yeah, okay. So achievement badges are basically you can have some images shown at the student's kind of achievements page, depending on certain criteria. In our case, these badges were related to their performance in such a quiz. Okay, so if you've got more than 90% from your big one, such a quiz, you would get gold medal for the first week. Yeah, and then in fact it helps with the second part, which is reward and competition. Okay, so what's that? It's amazing how a competitive nature can turn a negative into something positive. There is probably a famous story you've heard about Charles Schwab with simple gamification increasing the steel production. Just getting a chalk and writing down how many tons of steel the last shift produced, and the next shift coming they would see, wow, there is something written on this kind of floor, and then they would be informed what's the performance of the previous shift. They would try to beat it. So I mean, it's a famous story probably you heard about. So you create just some competition there. So earning achievement badges, medals for course activities, bronze, silver, or gold medal badge for the weekly subject test. But it's not limited to that. I mean, you can actually give these badges to any other activities. I would add also other set of badges for discussion forum posts. So novice, contributor, expert badges, depending on number of your valid in your discussion forums. We have another colleague, they were talking about discussion boards. Excellent job there. And in fact, I just learned here that Ontology has another tool which is called Ontology Milestones. They're trying to reintroduce the badges in a different form, hopefully to work. So this looks like that. So you can see that they're standard badges and then they're custom made, like gold. The problem with Achievement Tool was that it doesn't have a leaderboard. So there have been some tools. Standard roster tool, it is not a leaderboard. It just lists the names. And I had a chance to talk to Ontology people saying, you could do that. I mean, it's not very hard. I mean, just add some flexibility to that. And there was a third-party tool Game over, very nice name like Pythologian game, yeah, okay. Leaderboard, but it is kind of deprecated, I think, and most of them were built on building blocks, which was the technology ontology get away from. So they are now using REST API. So what I was doing with that, I would have rather a discussion forum topic which would list the top players or something. So I would do it by hand. Something like that. So basically every week we would have somebody kind of mentioned here. But there was another trick here. So earning also real VS virtual rewards. Obviously the badges are virtual images. They could brag maybe just taking screenshot and sharing in social media. For example, we had one tricky thing. Every class we would have a boarding music playing before the class starts, for 10 minutes. And whoever would get 100% gold in the previous week first, because there would be several people who would get 100%, they would have a chance to choose this boarding music. There was some small competition. And at the end of the semester, absolute champions would get some gifts. I collected some AWS notebooks, like a nice gift, yeah, okay, so some pens, so why not? Yeah, and then the third one is second chance. So if you remember, we talked about games. Why games are important factor there is safety. You feel safe. And then Simon, I mentioned before, in one of his research, he would emphasize the fact that courses are like games, but then losing, like failing the course is kind of bigger problem than losing a game. Yeah. So, but adding the second chance is somehow giving them freedom to fail. So the freedom to fail is vital if you are going to succeed. I think this quote was used also by Mark Zuckerberg, and it would change. Greatest successes come from freedom to fail. So in what form? And in fact, for all these factors, you may actually use different methods to actually implement them. I'm talking about my kind of approach to that. So course assignments, including bonuses. So up to, on some point, up to 14% of the total 14% of the 100% grade for the course. But it would be distributed among, for example, 4 assignments. And it is very helpful with, we need to understand that the regular, students are late awakeners. I mean, they are always there, especially in intro courses. So it helps a lot for the late awakeners to make up the points they lost. There are also additional kind of participation activities, something like graded posts in questions and course discussion forums. I think that I would usually have 3 discussion forums. One would be question and answer, meaning students post their questions there and then instructors are answering them. Second one would be kind of course discussions, but these are, students cannot start a topic. We have kind of standard topics about like related to the learning outcomes for the week, and they would reply with some research or with their opinion. And then there is a third one which is rather chit-chat, meaning socializing. We sometimes interfere there with posting what's introduction, something like what's the meaning of your name, what are your top 5 books or something like that. So they would socialize. It is important, especially for the freshmen, because, and especially during the pandemic time, I mean, they didn't really have, chance to meet each other, but they appreciate the fact that they were able to do it virtually. And then we have other 2 activities maybe you would find interesting. One is Who Are You? So these are basically tests which are not graded per se, but then if you just go there and share your opinion, you would get a grade, portion of participation grade. And this would be consisting of 2 photos. So you probably recognize the person on the left, Oscar award-winning, Academy Award-winning actor. Anyone? The right one is very important for our field of computer science, but most people don't recognize that person. I think it's Babbage, the inventor of analytical machine, the mechanical computer. But then the kind of the trick is students are called to kind of find out who is on the left and who is on the right. It's kind of cultural awareness about their field. Okay. And the picture of the day is another interesting thing. So before every class session, I show a picture on the screen, which can be a still from a movie or some meme, but it is somehow related to some notion we will mention through the session. And then after the class, the test is released, and they need to actually write down their idea how this is related, what is it that this picture is related to, and how it is related. I mean, the example is that one example was funny one and tough one. The still from the Terminator, the movies, and the Terminator is on the bike. The second one is the best one. The Terminator on the back, and he's kind of shooting back at the chasing kind of track. And the link was we were talking on this week about the system and feedback mechanism, input, processing, output, and feedback, which is kind of part of the output going and changing input. And so it was tough one, but this kind of not directly, immediately, kind of understandable. But then if you're paying attention to the session, maybe you would get a chance. Okay. On that point, I would stop because I'm moving to the does it work part. Any questions so far, or any ideas you would want to share, or anything clicked, something in your mind? Maybe you do some stuff differently. No? Okay, I will move. Maybe we will keep the questions till the end. So, does it work? We do not know. But okay. We do not know, but then there is, so for every course, and I'm focusing here on one course which we started to gamify in fall 2020. And this course was offered every semester, but obviously in fall it was bigger number of students. Last time it was, I think, almost 200 students. Not very big, but then it is big enough, relatively big. So if you look at the fail rate, and I put some statistics here. So every course, at the end of every course, we will have the standard student survey. And I'll try to look at the surveys and, just try to understand what's that. If you look at F rate, so you can see that the F grade rate is growing over the semester, and I presume that our gamification is getting better and better. But then there is encouraging kind of news, and unfortunately we don't have comparative data. So I can look at only my course, but there are also many varying factors, like total number of students are changing, number of sections. I mean, the number of students are growing. You would start with 4 sections, now we have 6 sections. Next semester probably it will be 7 sections. But this is coming from their answer to what overall my level of satisfaction with this course is, and what does it tell us? I don't know, but then we can try to analyze it. So it is actually like this one is very high plus high. So they're satisfied or very satisfied with the course, and it seems that over the fall semester is growing. And then it seems that the moderate kind of level of satisfaction is the same. And then there is the number of people who are not satisfied or very unsatisfied with that it's going on. I don't know how good is that, but I just started to look at it, and maybe you have some ideas how to interpret this. Another one, what do we know that? Because we don't have specifically gamification questions in our survey, yeah? But then I also tried to look at what they mentioned in their essay-like comments to the course, in the course survey. And then there is, what are 1 to 3 specific things about this course or instructor that especially help to support your learning? And it's very freestyle, I mean, it's very open-ended. But then if you look at the data, they mentioned several elements here, self-check tests, videos, discussion forums, but then the majority is like, because the question is too general, like they're either not specific, there are other things. So these are kind of numbers. I've got. But the slides which are uploaded, they will stop here. But what happened, we had breaking news. So suddenly I realized, why don't we ask the students again? So in the best tradition of genre, I uploaded today, just a couple of hours before the updated version of the slide. So I posted a survey 4:25 a.m. on like yesterday with the questions, like with direct questions about gamification elements to all the students who took this course over the 6 semesters, and I've got preliminary results. I hope you are equally excited to see what are the results. So far, only 53 responses, not bad, I think, but not very good. So basically, who are these guys, girls? So mainly these are people who just took, like in fall 2022, they took and then fall, so basically recent fall semesters. And then if you see that the numbers are not summing up to 53, because some of the students, they were taking the course more than once, so it happens. Yeah. But anyway, so now coming. So the questions I designed actually tried to emulate the similar questions with the research I mentioned by the University of Lisbon College. So this change, like whatever change we did, like gamification elements added, this change made the course more interesting, meaning you like the course more. So this very kind of a bit open-ended question, like not very much defined, but you liked it. And then we had options like strongly agree, neither agree nor disagree, strongly disagree. So it seems that the strongly agree is kind of, and then agree are a big portion, almost 3/4 of the students. It seems that they agree that this element made the course more interesting. And then we had additional question. I had additional question: which elements made the biggest difference? And it seems that bonus tasks. Why I'm not surprised. Yeah, this scoring high, weekly self-check tests, and picture of the day test. So these are 3 things students mentioned. I would rush through the slides. I'm not sure. I'm conscious about time. The second question was, this change made the course more engaging. So you interacted with the course more. I think they had more solid positive response to that. And surprisingly, the same elements contributed to that, to bonus tasks, but higher level of like appreciation of weekly self-check test and picture of the day. And there were a few kind of questions from the other side, meaning the course would be better off without these changes. So there are people who strongly agree with that, 1.9%, which is I think 2 people, or 1 person, agree 13.2%, and strongly disagree 31.2%. So, we need to look at the data and try to. This change increased the course workload. I think the clear message here that yes, it is. So strongly agree, 15.1, agree 30.2%. But interestingly, disagree equally. There are people who disagree, and less percentage who strongly disagree that there was additional workload here. And the last one, how did this change affect your overall performance in the course? Negatively, we have some people who think negatively. Positively, 47.2, very positively, 32.1. I also added some freestyle comment. I like this one, and then I was surprised, like they took time to actually write down lots of things. Picture of the day helped think more creatively. It's one of the students. And out of the box, weekly self-checks played a great role in learning the material and using those questions for exam preparation as well. Homework bonus tasks were a good opportunity for students who are falling behind the program, and generally is good motivation for extra points and higher grade. Weekly medal and boarding music were very nice and encouraging to stay on top of our studies. It's always curious to see who is the week's winner and what music they like. Also helps to find new acquaintances with shared taste in music. Most important, I believe these activities taught us consistency. Basically, you know, but then there are also very constructive kind of additional thoughts about how. And then what is next? This one slide, the journey is just started. Maybe more creative use of achievements, using experience points separately for course activities as addition to the grading, more personalized experience, and maybe different streams of assignments for students. I actually stumbled upon a nice syllabus in game development course in Western University in Canada that basically have a flow so students can choose what assignments they do, and based on that they would get different experience points, and at the end their XP would be crunched to a certain formula and they would get their final grade. So there are many ways to do this, and then I would love to hear your experience, anything similar, or what did you do differently? On that point I stop, and then I ask you to rate this session. And it would be good to link. I've got my cards here. I'm an old school guy, so if you're interested, you can pick up some cards, and then I've got also some pens from my university if you fancy. Okay, thank you. If no questions, I encourage, yes, please go ahead.
So one question I have, like, do you have any story element in the weekly subtext or in the introduction to the modules? One of my coworkers is a big fan of simulation, so was there like, you're a newly hired employee, or you're the what do you teach exactly?
I'm a computer science professor. I teach computer science.
Okay, so was there like
yeah, I got
you're hacking into
yeah, this is very nice. I know that there's some colleagues who are doing it, and there's a story element of a game. I didn't have it. So basic, and then again, like the point of this presentation was like the very simple change. Of course, the creativity is unlimited. You can, and then our FAA codes, they included the Minecraft, you know, total kind of competition, like totally different kind of approach there. No stories, but this is another way. Like, yes, why not to add, you mentioned like, imagine you are a hacker and you need to protect your system from somebody, or you need to learn certain stuff. Yeah.
One thing you might try is ChatGPT to do the story part.
Why not? Yes, great. ChatGPT to actually create stories.
But yeah, I looked into the Minecraft one. We have a Minecraft license, so I'd like to
One more question here. Oh, like sharing your thoughts. Yes, please go ahead.
So your leaderboard, if you would, the badges, that was seen by every student, right? So like
He didn't have leader. Yeah.
okay.
He didn't have leaderboard per se, unfortunately.
But then you had the badges of who was the highest, the ranking, right?
Students themselves see their badges, but there is no leaderboard where each other would see each other's badges. I would just put the top results for every week. That would be like, I would manually do that, which is a sad reality. And I told the anthology guys, Blackboard guys, that if you would automate some of this stuff, that would help a lot, because in Ultra they have roster, they're having Milestone, which is a separate product, but they are promising to integrate it to Learn. Why don't you add the functionality to the roster, to the, but your question was probably about, it would be sensitive, yes, to
More of, was there any negativity about maybe the same person winning a lot, or other people thinking, I'll never have a chance, why try?
That's a very, very good question. In fact, I thought about it that if I would advise on requirements for the leaderboard, I would say show only top 3, for example, but don't show the rest, or anonymize the rest, and show to every student their position in the whole roster, because there is a sensitivity of not achieving much. Top players would not mind sharing their names, obviously. But then your point is very interesting, that maybe there is a sensitivity in that too. I mean, this bragging around this guy like he's always top player. But I mean, this is competition. Why not to look at it as an inspiration to push forward? I had situations like that. I mean, because of especially this music, boarding music in quotes, there would be some students, they are not very achieving students, but they would rush to go and do the self-check quiz to be able to actually select in music. Yeah, it happens.
Pros and cons.
Yes, there are. Yeah? Thank you.
Have you included, I mean, if you look at the Xbox achievements, have you included like checked in for office hours?
No, that's another great idea. Like, okay, finish the intro or read the syllabus, which is great thing. Yeah, okay. Have you heard the story about $50? So, have you heard that? There was an article, one professor, every semester, he put somewhere in the syllabus the code for the drawer in the gym where he puts the $50 every semester. And whoever would attentively read this syllabus, they would find the sentence, go to this, locker and enter the code, you will get $50. He said, for the last 10 years, nobody got this $50. So, I don't know if it is a city list, but there was a legit article about that, which is so, why not? Like, badge for reading your syllabus, badge for posting first in the forum or replying first to the forum discussion, helping your, answering to your, fellow students' questions. So, there are unlimited, ways to actually virtually, give awards or create competition. So, yeah. But then, again, this is simplest thing to do. Because if you have self-check quizzes are non-graded, they are safe, but then you've got already the result, which is already in Blackboard, you can actually plug to that result your achievement. And that's it. I wouldn't think about additional things, because I think you would have to think about more complex logic to connect it to vote. Either you would have to do it manually. Faculty, I feel for them. I mean, they're so busy with many different things, and then adding to their, load. But yeah, but this would be a good thing to explore. Okay, so thank you so much, and thank you for being with us.